Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Fit Chicks Unfiltered. I'm Ashley,
And I'm Callie.
and we're here to talk some shit today, as per usual.
Let's stir it up. Let's stir it up.
Yes, first off, how have you been? How's the baby cooking?
We are cooking. We are really cooking. But I feel like I'm in a growth stage right now. I feel like
Yeah.
every morning I wake up, like the belly is a little more pronounced and
Mm-hmm.
cone-like. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty cool. And I'm feeling more of these weird kind of movements that are happening here and there,
Ooh,
which is also wildly like sobering that there's actually a human being inside of my stomach.
it's crazy, right?
It's so crazy, but it's good.
Your hair looks lush and like full and amazing.
So much. It needs to be tamed, but it's growing very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they say that's what the baby does, though, right? The baby
hmm
like does all this amazing, like the biotin or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I hear. And also too, it's like a mix of the prenatals that you're taking, the vitamins.
Mm,
Most people aren't focusing on a lot of that stuff already until they get pregnant.
yeah,
But with me and you being in the bodybuilding space, have been paying attention to that kind of stuff.
exactly.
But
Speaking of which, what has like your workout regimen and your nutrition and all of that like been like since being pregnant? Are you paying attention? Are you not? Have you what's been going on with that?
so basically, when I first realized I was pregnant, I was still working out the same.
Mhm.
Everything I felt even stronger, which was wild.
I can
Um,
see that.
and then I hit around like week 7 or 6.5. I got hit like a train with freaking motion sickness
Wow.
24/7. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about all steady through the day, through the night,
Ooh,
feeling like I was about to throw up, which I know not everyone gets. But I
yeah.
never did get sick. I never physically threw up. I just felt like I was on the verge of it. And when
Uh,
that happened, I think there was like 3 weeks where I was like, I'm trying to do my stuff, but I just can't. It's like we're just surviving out here. So
yeah.
I was eating what I could to make me feel better, and I was trying to get my steps in. I was trying to go to the gym, but I only went to the gym probably like 3 times in the course of like 2.5 weeks, which made me feel
Yeah.
even more crazy and more like cabin
Mm,
fever, which I know you understand that.
yeah.
Um, and then after that, now that I'm in week 14, almost week 15 tomorrow, um, second trimester is starting to like, I'm feeling a little more human. I'm not getting crazy amounts of nausea.
Hmm.
But I think it was week 9.5-ish where nausea started to subside. There was just like waves of it. So I was back to like 5 days a week workout split. And as you know, I was just eating that salad with you before this. So I'm
Which
craving
looked
healthier
bomb.
things again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a time where it's like, I just want chicken noodle soup. I just want like, for lack of better terms, I felt really hungover. So it
Yeah.
was like, what do you want when you, whatever you want, nasty, greasy
Greasy,
food.
heavy food. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I tried not to do it as much as I could, but at the same time, it's like you can't be perfect right now. You just gotta get
No,
to.
you can't be. You got to give the baby what the baby wants.
Yeah. And if one had stuff, it wasn't great. And like
Give the baby what it wants.
honestly, what I told myself and what I was actually thinking about, which is super true. I talked to a lot of people about pregnancy now that I'm pregnant, and I just get like a pull of different information. And a lot of the people
Yeah.
that were like very strict on their diet, like before this, I wasn't really eating dairy or, that I was very clean with my food. But the people who were really like that through pregnancy, they ended up, like, for the most part, finding out that their kids had a lot of sensitivities because they weren't used to all the stuff because I'm feeding the child through what I'm eating now.
That makes sense. It's
So
almost like
now,
letting your kid play in dirt so that they build up an
yeah.
immune system, which I fully believe in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And if you keep them
Hmm.
in a bubble forever, that's not good. So I'm back
No.
to dairy. I'm back to allowing myself cheese and stuff like that, and definitely eating peanuts, and peanut butter, which I always ate peanut butter, but uh, to avoid peanut allergies.
Oh my God.
I
Can you
like dairy.
imagine a life with peanut allergies? No shade to
Mm-mm-mm.
anybody who has those. I'm so sorry.
I
Like,
know.
that's one of the hardest allergies to have, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. But that's been my take so far.
Are you still able to do the majority of your movements in the gym, or are you restricted now to certain movements? How's that work?
For the most part, I'm still training an elite style training, but what's happening is I'm trying not to form what I would call that overly compressed feeling in my abdomen. So, like, for example, which is, to pull from my powerlifting days, when you're going into that deep squat, sometimes you create
Yeah.
that compression in your abdomen and
Yeah,
push
yeah, yeah.
out against your belt, which, that's a controversial topic in itself. But I'm trying not to do that. So I'm trying to allow myself to breathe through the movements more instead of just
Hmm.
holding and compressing air. Because that's the one thing my doctor said, just try to pay attention to. You don't want to overly do that. And also when you're pregnant, your body's releasing a hormone called relaxin. And that's
Yeah.
it's specifically for labor and delivery because it allows your joints to open up, your hips to open up, so that way you can deliver successfully. But when you're in a deep squat and you're squatting super freaking heavy, there's like a spot above your pubic bone that's like a little cartilage piece. And when that relaxin is kicking in, you can actually cause it to open too far, like in a
Wow.
deep squat. So not everyone gets that, but that's something that, I mean, your body's going to produce that, but not everyone, I've seen pregnant women doing crazy things out there with heavy, heavy, heavy weight. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that's just what my doctor is bringing to my attention. But
Yeah.
for the most part, they support that I work out 5 days a week. They support that I'm strength training. They do not have any qualms against it. They like are like, please do it.
So for all those of you who are listening, because we know pregnant women working out is a very controversial topic, and you
Hmm.
are not the first pregnant woman to tell me that the doctor has green lighted this. It's
That's true.
okay, people. It's okay.
Yeah,
We're not
that's
gonna
it.
break.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too,
Oh,
I don't know. I think if you're someone you've led a very extremely sedentary lifestyle and then you get pregnant and you're
hmm.
like, I want to be extreme, maybe not. But like
Right, right, right.
talk to your doctor about how do I ease into this. But if you're someone who's active and
And
you
who's
like
been
going to the gym,
active?
yeah, like why stop doing what is serving your body? That would throw it for a loop more than anything.
Hmm. It's so true. So true. Well, yes, girl, keep us updated on the baby and how the baby's cooking. It's so interesting to see how your journey through fitness is like changing and evolving while
Hmm.
you're with child. Cause like you do think like, oh my God, I have to be careful. Like everything has to stop now. I just have to sit here and eat. I'm eating for two and all of this. And as we like, I guess just go deeper into the future, you
Yeah.
realize like how much of those things that we were taught aren't necessarily true. Like this idea that once you're with child, you have to kind of sit there and bake.
Yeah.
That's not really true. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
why that
yeah.
doesn't support like and you think about it, like all the ligaments and things that are changing, like
Yeah,
what? Yeah, I mean, and also you're going to be pushing, so why like weaken what allows you to actually push?
exactly. Exactly. It's so true. So
Yeah,
true. But yeah, so I guess let's get into it. What are we talking about today, Kelly? Let's bring it in.
let's talk about GLP-1s, Mounjaro, how that if just in the space in general. Like
Yeah,
there is so much controversy around it, and I just feel like we need to spearhead it.
we 100% do. And I think this conversation is it's sparked because there's been a lot of questions about what the fuck I'm on because I look so damn good. Thank you,
Oh,
friends.
damn good.
Thank you, friends. Um, yeah, there's a lot of controversy about that. Like, is she on GLP-1s? Has she had bariatric surgery? All of this. And if you guys, if you guys are the real ones and you've been listening for a while, especially if you've come over from my other podcast, then you already know where we're going. But if you are new to my content, this may be a question that you've asked me on short form and like, why isn't she answering? Or that you've been questioning. Not only have I been asked this, but the use of GLP-1s has just been really big in the fitness space and in the bodybuilding space. So I was coming across a bodybuilding content creator and she was doing a Q&A and somebody had asked her how she felt about bodybuilders using Ozempic and GLP-1s on prep to curb the hunger cravings. And she obviously had no issues with it. Like nobody has any issues with it. The only people that have issues with it are people that are not where they want to be in life. So I'm telling you right now, friends, I'm going to be spicy. So heads up. If you feel like I'm coming for your neck, that's on you, not on me. Um, but I thought
Let
that
them
was
know.
really, yeah, you're right. You know, if you are triggered, that's a you problem.
Yeah, trigger warning, trigger warning.
Right,
If it's
right.
gonna bother you, go ahead,
Yeah,
turn off.
exactly, because nobody has issues around these drugs, but the people that aren't where they need to be, which I find to be really fascinating. You know, I ingest a lot of fitness content, you ingest a lot of fitness content, and I'm not talking about from like the 19-year-old fitness creators. I'm talking about people that have been in this space for 20, 30, 40 years, you know, that have reputable backgrounds, that have done the research, done the studies, and even used their own bodies as test subjects when it comes to GLP-1 usage. And I mean, the studies, the math is mathing on these drugs. So I figure, you know, what a better space than our space, Fit Chicks Unfiltered, to kind of open up the conversation on GLP-1s. Um, I think I want to start with you, Callie. So, you know, you and I are coming to it from like totally different like angles almost, right? So
Hmm.
obviously you haven't used it, but you are a fitness coach.
Hmm.
And I'd love to kind of pick your brain on maybe your initial thoughts on it and have your thoughts changed over time. Have clients come to you on it? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts on it, to be honest. And I feel
Yeah.
like when I originally caught on to something and I didn't know what it was, is I was watching the Kardashians again. And I was like, all of a
Love the
sudden,
Kardashians.
all of a sudden these girls are getting real thin
Yeah.
real fast. Like I know they got something. Like I know they're doing a
Yeah.
workout, but I know they got something and I didn't know what it was. And then it started
Yeah.
coming out and I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I know they work out. I know they care about what they eat. I know all these things, but I was like, "Okay, I had a feeling I was smelling something in there. It doesn't just, it just felt like
Mm-hmm.
this on the Kardashians." And then when I actually figured out what it was, I was slightly interested because there was a part of me on the inside that was like, oh, will this help me? This was before I got really
Mm-hmm.
into, bodybuilding. And I never really I the one Google research I did, I figured out it was wildly expensive. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And so I went on, so on and so forth. And then being in the coaching space and learning more about it and learning about some of the repercussions, I started to form opinions on the fact that I think there are people who actually really need it and they need help with like their fitness journey. They need help with their health journey. They need something that is going to align with the efforts that they're putting forward, just from a health standpoint.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's great. But then I started to get really pissed off, to be honest, because
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're just giving people this and you're not talking about all the effects of it. Are you telling people they need to have proper nutrition still? Are you teaching them nutrition? Are you talking about the importance of strength training? Are these things that they're left to figure out on their own? Because
Mm-hmm.
that lit a fire under me because I started seeing these case studies of people who were just losing mass in general. That means muscle, that means
Yep.
bone density, that means weight
Mm-hmm.
in general.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that is what upset me because I felt like
Yeah.
here's something that is a great tool for people who need, um, who are really, really, really struggling with weight loss and they need something that can
Yeah.
help change the course of their life and lead a healthy life. But you're
Right.
also leaving out such a huge part that could leave
Right.
people in a very bad spot when they get old and then they've lost so much skeletal muscle,
Yeah.
um, to a point now to where it's evolved so much where I feel like every time I look at the news, people are talking about it's good for this, it's good for that. And there's all these different walks of life of people that are using it, from people who don't necessarily need it. But like you said, with bodybuilding, it's helping, to people who like have actually needed it to become like extend the course of their life and lead a happy,
Yeah.
fulfilling life. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've spoken for a second here. I want your opinion on what I've just said and if that makes
I
any
mean,
sense, how that makes you feel.
yeah, so it makes so much sense, so much to unpack there, right?
Hmm.
So, I think first off, yeah, the Kardashians, they're a prime example of, first of all, I love the Kardashians.
Yeah, me
So
too.
no, yeah, no shade to the Kardashians, but I do think Kardashians and people like the Kardashians are a perfect example of why there's this like negative connotation around GLP-1s, trizepatides, Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, because these are
Hmm.
people who don't need it.
Hmm.
These are people who do not need it at all, and they've got a plethora of money to feed this habit or whatever to get this like eeny weeny teeny weeny skinny, right? When there are people who really do need it. I
Which
think,
drives body image and all
which
there.
exactly, right? And so I think Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, they are tools in your toolkit, much like a hammer is used to build a house. It can also be abused, much like a hammer can be used to off somebody,
Mhm.
right? And so I think when we look at these drugs from that lens, that this is a tool that can be used correctly, it can be very effective. I'm on Mounjaro. I also had VSG surgery in 2021. I've talked very openly about it in my long form content. And I think the biggest reason why a lot of folks who have had bariatric surgery or are on Ozempic or Mounjaro who may not talk about it as much is because social media can be the devil's playground. And a lot of people immediately look for reasons to discount the hard work that
Yeah.
should be done when you're on these drugs. Speaking to what you were saying about people losing mass in general, that is a thing. If you are not hitting your protein, if you are not weightlifting, if you are not going to the gym. Now, I can't speak for anybody else and how they get their drugs. What I can say is before my bariatric surgery, I had to be in rooms, like doing nutrition therapy with groups of people, one-on-one with a nutritionist and a psych eval. I had to
Wow.
track my food for months and then have somebody track what I've tracked. It was a whole thing. I did a sleep apnea test, which proved that
Wow.
I had heavy sleep apnea. I stopped breathing in my sleep every other minute. Every other minute.
Ashley.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a prime example of somebody that needed this stuff. I literally
Yeah.
stopped breathing in my sleep. And then I had the bariatric surgery, and the bariatric surgery, like a lot of you guys ask, why I don't have loose skin and stuff like that. The weight came off slow, friends. I was not one of those bariatric cases who lost 100 pounds in 6 months. And honestly, thank God, because I was able to put on muscle and tone up and really take it off slowly. The slower it comes off, the more apt you are to keep it off. So about a year and a half after surgery, 2 years after surgery is when I started my journey with Mounjaro. And Mounjaro has been great. I have not had any side effects. I know that's a question that I get a lot. I've not had any side effects whatsoever. No nausea, no nothing. I still hit my protein. I still hit my calories. And the reason why is because I've trained my body to do so. I knew that being on this drug did not mean that I was just going to sit here and waste away because weightlifting was and is really important to me. And so again, it's a tool. It's how you use it correctly. And so when I started the Mongiorno, I would force feed myself. No lie, I'm like, I am not hungry, but I'm going to eat this cottage cheese, even if it takes me 3 hours. I'm going to eat
Yeah.
this cottage cheese. And that's what I would do. I would just stretch meals out over time and kind of eat like a bird. And so now I'm at a phase in my journey where I can hit my calories, I can hit my protein, I can hit my carbs, and still be on this drug. So why the drug, does somebody ask? It helps with the food noise. Anybody will tell you that food noise when late at night and they're like, oh my God, I want the pizza, I want the cake, I want the ice cream, I want on it. It helps with
Yeah.
that. But yeah, let me Uber eat something really quick. It helps with that food noise that drove a lot of my decisions around food for the majority of my life. We have to remember, when you're dealing with somebody that's had a weight issue, the weight has been off. First of all, I'm not even at goal yet, but let's say the weight has been off for what, about a year? I've been overweight for 30 years. It's not like that's just not gonna like reverse engineer like super quick. And so I would like to think I'm a person that doesn't need to be on Mounjaro for the rest of my life, but there are people that do, and that's okay. You know,
But I
I
feel like you're
think,
setting yourself up for success by, like you
yeah,
said, doing all the pieces. It is a tool in the
yeah,
tool belt. It is not
it's a
the
tool in the
sole
tool belt.
answer. And like
Yep.
also what you said, like you found yourself having these cravings thinking about filling space with food. And I think that
Yes.
starts here, right? So like
Yes.
what was going on that made you feel comfort in that? So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
mindset, it's a understanding how to exert like physical activity, how to eat properly.
Yes.
And then
Mm-hmm.
that's why probably also one of the reasons why you probably won't need to be on it forever.
Exactly, exactly. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being on it. I think that there's a specific candidate for it.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, I think the bigger conversation that we're having here is money talks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a certain candidate for it, but if you got the money to spend and you want to lose that extra 15 pounds, then you're going to go and get yourself some Mounjaro or some Wegovy or some Ozempic,
See, this is
versus,
where I get bothered
mm-hmm,
by it though, right? Because
mm-hmm,
it's like,
mm-hmm.
okay, so for example, I've had people bring it up, or I've had people who were prospects and they're like, well, I was taking this or I was taking that
Yeah,
Ozempic and it's working so far, but it's someone who also, like you said, doesn't need it, definitely. And they
right.
just need to, so like, are you avoiding what really needs to happen that will give you those results to like, case in point, what you said, create sustainable long-term results?
Sustainable long-term results.
Or are you just going to do this for a little bit and then also just lose mass and then when you get off of it you're going to rebound because you really didn't need it anyways, but you starved yourself and you were already thin and then your
Yeah.
metabolism's crashed. Like that's where I get upset because I'm like, well, sure, I get it. Like like
Mm-hmm.
you said, let's use a tool for every different type of person, but what is the right way and what's the abusive way of doing it?
That's the thing. Well, the thing is the problem isn't with the drug. The problem is with the accessibility to the drug.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like what I think the problem is like somebody who is
Qualifying.
like 400 pounds and they can't afford six, seven, $800 a month for this drug, and they are stuck at 400 pounds versus the person who's 160 pounds and maybe they have an amazing job and they're making six figures a fucking year and they can do it. I mean, if what we're really talking about is like economy, socioeconomic stuff, like it's deeper than the Ozempic or the Wegovy or the Mounjaro.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really about making this drug accessible to the people who actually need it, because there are situations where a motherfucker just needs to lose mass. They are
Yes.
obese as fuck and they're going
Regardless,
to
it just
die.
has to go.
Yeah, yeah. And they're gonna fucking die. And so it's like if you're in a situation where your heart is so clogged, like when it's either I take this drug or I die, then
Clear answer.
exactly. And then when you get to a phase when maybe you're in the 200s and you get to maintenance and then you start realizing, okay, let me get my protein. Let me understand nutrition. Let me like take my health by the balls and really give a fuck about what we are doing here. I think that's honestly where the magic really happens. And I would love to talk more. You guys let us know in the comments if you want more conversation on Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy. If you come in peace on this topic, I will gladly open up these doors to talk about it because I know I'm a rare case of being on this medicine and building muscle the way that I am. I know that I'm a rare case, but I'm telling you guys right now, I didn't get this definition from a shot. And I think what I don't want to say scares me, but what makes me apprehensive about talking about it is because I worked so damn hard to get here. Stair steppers, cardio, spin, weightlifting, lifting really hard, blood, sweat, and tears, quite literally. Doing like working my fucking ass off. And unfortunately, there are people on the internet that want to reduce down your hard work to a shot or to a surgery. And like I said, I mean, yeah, I had the surgery, but that shit didn't do what I thought it was gonna do. No lie. Like, I remember getting ready for the surgery and looking at all these people's results. And I'm like, I had my surgery. I recovered really quickly because I was taking care of my body really well beforehand. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. My doctor green lighted me to get back on my Peloton 3 days after surgery. You best believe I was back on my Peloton 3 days after surgery. the weight was coming off so slow. And I'm just realizing like my body type, it just, she loves muscle. Pack on the muscle. That's just my body type. And I love my body type now, but I want the listeners to understand there is no one way, friends. Like
Mm.
there like there is no one answer. If you are somebody who is looking to drop some weight, who is fed up with how your body is working, there's no one way.
There's
Yes,
no
I had
magic
weight.
easy button.
No, no,
Mm-mm.
I had weight loss surgery on Mongiorno, cardio 5 to 6 days a week, getting my fucking steps in, hitting my protein goals on a regular basis, heavy weightlifting, friends. Don't be afraid to go heavy. And getting my sleep, getting my water, cutting out booze. I
Yeah.
went sober about 6 months ago. Like, really, my mindset, doing
Hmm.
therapy, one-on-one therapy and couples therapy, this has been a thing to go from 320 to the 191 where I'm sitting today. This wasn't just like one thing. And on social media, I get irritated because a lot of you guys trying to come from my motherfucking neck, like, oh, she done, no, bitch, no, I will not dignify you with an answer. Like
No.
intimate pieces deserve an intimate setting, like long form content, and this is kind of the safest place where I feel like talking about Ozempic, Wegovy, Mongiorno, these long form spaces with other individuals who are in this universe, to be quite
Hmm.
honest,
And it's not as simple as one sentence. Like to just be like,
Mm-mm.
hey, this is what I did. That's exactly why the problem is
That
reduced to like the easy button.
exactly.
No one I mean,
Exactly.
the whole journey, it's so important to understand that and like
Mm-hmm.
see it. And it's not as simple, like I said, it's just saying point
It's
blank
not.
yes or no. Because people
Mm-mm.
run with that and they're like, oh, if
That's
I
it.
do this and I invest this money to do these things, it'll be that simple for me. And that's also very unfair to mislead people to think that
It's
it's that
there.
simple.
All of that, Kelly. That's exactly why you guys might notice a lot of fitness influencers kind of like are a little cagey with their macros. You guys know I am. I've been asked my macros a lot because like I am not about to tell you what I'm on so you can go and follow my macros and hope you get my results. Like everybody is different. And I just feel like in the age of 2025, the age of Aquarius, and having these platforms, there is a responsibility. And I can't deduce down all of this to, yeah, I'm on Mongiorno. This is exactly how much I take, and I take it every freaking Tuesday at 9 a.m. I can't do that to you guys. It's
No.
not it's falsifying information.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have clients that are on GLP-1s? Because I know I do. I've got a handful of clients that are on GLP-1s.
I've had clients who are on them and I've had clients who are interested in them, and they all have
Mm,
different walks of life in terms of what
yeah.
their goals are, where their body's currently at, what they're
Yeah.
trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with some people who I feel like this is where I got upset is because some of these people were starting it and they knew they needed to get a hold of their nutrition and a workout
First,
regimen,
I
but
see.
it what they're on it though, but they weren't explained that.
Yeah. Ah, how'd they get it? So like
I
when
don't, I
I
don't, I don't
you
know.
don't know. So when I
No.
started my Monjournal, it's a whole thing. So you guys know I Drip Spa, sponsored by Drip Spa, Ash M10 if you're in the Rochester area or upstate New York. But there's a whole process there too. Like you check in with them, they check your weight. They get like it's a whole thing. They don't just give you the drug and say bye.
But maybe she did go through that, but it just still didn't resonate. You know, like for you, that wasn't a problem for you. I
Right,
don't,
right.
but I don't know how much hand holding there was for you during that, or how much at the time discipline and motivation you had in starting that, like you, how bad you wanted it, like you knew your why
Yeah.
like the back of your hand. Um, but this person in particular didn't really care about the number, but knew she needed it for health and was diabetic. And it just felt like there wasn't a clear path of like, I'm not sure how I'm getting there, but I'm freaking getting there. You know what I mean?
She didn't give a fuck. She was like, we gonna get to that
Yeah.
number.
It felt like
However,
she was just on it. And then I've also had actually actively, well, have a client who has considered it and I mention that I don't think that, in my opinion, it was necessary just yet because it felt like at the time, it felt like all of this is too tough. It's hard to do nutrition. It's hard to do workouts. It's hard to
Yeah.
do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Maybe this will make it easier. And I guess that bothered me a touch in the sense that,
Yeah.
hold on, we need to make sure the mind is healthy. You carve time for yourself. Like you understand the proper way to address your nutrition, which she knew, but it means, are you actually, like we were talking about with macros, are you actually following, or are we just looking for a band-aid? Because
Yeah.
what happens when you get off of it is that that you're like what's going to happen? It's just going to repeat the cycle.
Just like with bariatric surgery, you can regain.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Which is exactly like you said that you, in your case, everyone's case looks different and yours looks, I love watching your journey. It's so freaking amazing. But if you weren't training what you train just as hard as like
Mhm.
any bodybuilder out there and you're doing those
Yo,
things, but
if
you're
I
still
wasn't
working so
training,
freaking hard,
I'm so
like,
hard. That's what I'm saying. Like, if I wasn't training, if I didn't do the mind, body, soul work, I would have 100% regained. That's what
hmm
people don't understand. Like, it's not about getting 80% of your stomach taken out, it's not about taking a shot. It's
hmm
about understanding your relationship with food. It's
hmm
about understanding your relationship with your body. It's about understanding how your body works, how to move around in the gym. It's
hmm
about creating routine and structure. Like the
yeah. And I think,
bariatric surgeries, that is the last. The shot
yeah.
is the last. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why sometimes I do get bothered by it because I feel like people think it's a quick fix and it's
They
not.
do. They
It's
do.
not, that's not the answer. Like
Right.
like you said, I think earlier you mentioned like for getting the surgery, actually, that's something that most doctors have you prove a weight because they want to see that you've changed your mindset, you've changed your relationship with
Yeah.
food, you've realized the importance of physical activity. So you get it before being
Mm-hmm.
given this. So like I feel the same way kind of about the shot. Like, do you
It should
get
there
what
should
you
be
need?
something like that.
Yeah, do you
Yeah.
get what you need to do in order to lead a healthy, long, sustainable life
Yeah.
before you think you're hitting the easy button?
I also think there should be some guidelines around it. Like, if you have 15 pounds to lose, bitch, go get on a goddamn treadmill. Like, I mean, no shade, but come on. If
I
you've
agree. I
got,
agree.
yeah, like 50 or more pounds, okay, let's consider it. But, there's no real regulations on it because this is a new thing. It's going to be really interesting to see. So I was listening to this one podcast, I'll shout them out, Mind Pump. They're really great guys if you guys are curious about just this sort of content. But they were talking about how scientists are already coming out. So Ozempic is like the GLP-1, that's like base level. Then Mounjaro is like a level up. It like is even more powerful. They're coming
Wow.
out with another one that's even more powerful. I forget exactly how it works, so I'm gonna butcher the science, but like there's like four receptors that attach to something that makes it even more powerful to suppress hunger cravings and all that.
Wow.
I know. We are in, not to bring everything back to astrology, but it all goes back to astrology, the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is all about technological advancement. This shit is not going away, friends. So instead of talking our ish about it, let's figure out how to work with it in a healthy, sustainable way so you don't hurt your body in the future, and that us as fitness coaches understand how to work with you. I know personally when somebody comes in to work with me because they're on GLP-1s, and 9 times out of 10, they know I'm on GLP-1s, and that's what attracts them to my work, which I totally get it. I force feed food down their throat. I
Yeah.
like am all like literally, I'm like, how is the food? I'm really into their journals, their food journals and all of that. And
That's awesome.
well, normally they'll have an issue hitting their macros. Most women do in general. And then you put the shot on top of that, and it's even more so. So
Mm,
we break it down. Instead of you looking at fats, carbs, and proteins, let's just focus on proteins and work
mhm.
our way up. And for those of you listening, I only tracked proteins for the first like 2.5 years of this whole shindig. I only tracked protein. And then when I
Which I
got
think is a great way to approach it without being
start,
overwhelmed.
yes, agreed. Because it can be overwhelming.
You have to think for a lot of people, that's it. that's an environment shock. Oh, wait, now I have to pay attention to the workouts. Now I have to pay attention to what food I'm eating down
Yeah.
to the gram of fat,
Yeah.
carbs, and protein.
Yeah.
And now I have to drink this much
Mm-hmm.
water. And like, that's
Yeah.
enough for me to pull out. Like, I'm done, you know?
Yes, exactly, exactly. And then like you feel like a failure because you're not doing it. And
Yeah.
it's hard. And I think the biggest point that we both want to drive home here is the world today doesn't make health easy.
No.
Our world is not built in our favor when it comes to being mentally, emotionally, physically healthy. We
Yeah.
have to work at that, and that's not fair, but the world's not fair. So, I think it's really about figuring out what it is that you need to do as an individual to kind of check those boxes and make sure that your mental health is good and your emotional health is good and your physical health is good. And if you only have like 15 pounds to lose and you're thinking about taking something like a GLP-1, I think there is some room there to really figure out what's actually going on. And do you really have 15 pounds to lose? Or are you just trying to achieve that Kim K look? Which again, we both
Yeah.
love Kim K. So no shade to her.
No, no shade, no shade. But where is it stemming from? Where is the origin? And like to your
Yes.
point of having a food journal,
Yes.
maybe having a journal in general, if you're thinking about doing something like this, figure out where the origin of all of this lies. Like, what is the
Yeah.
reason that you're doing this? What's like
Yeah.
behind that brick wall in your heart that you don't even say out loud to yourself? Like, what is it
Mm-hmm.
because you were bullied? Was it because you never
Yeah.
felt good enough? And this is you doing this to
Yeah.
prove something? Or is this what you truly want for
Mm-hmm.
you? And this is what
Right.
makes you happy and feel beautiful and confident because those things get very muddled and you don't
They
even know it's
do.
happening.
They do. And like that's where the shadow work of it all comes in. Like I had to go really, really deep into my world to really figure out my why. Like when you're talking about big weight, like 100 something pounds, I actually did the math yesterday. It's 129 pounds I'm down. Like when you're talking about weight like that, you really have to have a fucking why, man. It's got to be deeper than vanity. Like,
And
why
it's
are
more than
you?
motivation.
Yeah. And I really had to go deep into the person that I am becoming and the person that I deserve to be and the person that I'm embodying.
Hmm.
And a lot of people are looking at this from a vanity perspective, right?
Hmm.
I want to fit into these size jeans. I want a big booty. I want the big boobs and this tiny waist. I want to look like my favorite influencer. We need to be careful,
Yeah,
you know, um, not to be corny, but the Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. And we all have such great
love it.
power. Every single one of us do right now with these little phones, these computers. You know, the power of
We do.
influence it's a real thing. And I also urge anybody who is judgy on GLP-1s. You don't know anybody's walk.
Yeah,
And yeah, and you don't know what anybody is going through or has gone through or what they're doing as well. And
yeah.
so if you're feeling triggered or judge or like you want to judge somebody that's on a GLP-1, again, why? Why are you so hyper concerned about what they're doing? It
Why
all
are you
goes
so
back to you.
bothered by someone else's journey and something? It usually
Hmm.
lives within us,
It
and a lot of times
does.
when people are like that, it says more about something that they're struggling with than the person that they're trying to make feel small.
Right.
Um, and that's just self-work you need to do. Another thing I'll say too is like do your research with everything because one thing you keep saying,
Everything.
Ashley, is like everyone's journey is different. Everything looks different. It's not always the same. And it's not one size
Hmm.
fits all. And a lot of times all it takes is one person to have a bad experience or one person to have a great experience or one person to hear one thing and they run with it and then they say it. Creates a whole echo chamber for like the 10 people that they've told it to. So then they've created an
Yeah.
opinion on something that someone formed like that. Like just do your research and figure out how
Hmm.
you actually feel about it. And you're allowed to feel certain ways with that being said, but it's not your place to push it onto other people. Like
Yes, exactly.
yeah, it's just like one of those things like sure, you're allowed to believe the things you want to believe and think and feel, but leave decide if it's just meant to stay inside of you, or like does it say you need to do more self work on yourself, or like I don't I don't know. People are so quick to like push on other people.
And not do their research. The amount of research I did on bariatric surgery was insane before I pulled the trigger.
Hmm.
Same with Mounjaro and Ozempic, but I'm that sort of person. I like to learn. It's the Sag in me.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like give me all the
that's
information
Sagittarius.
yeah, Sagittarius is like that.
Okay, because I was like that when I had my breast augmentation. I literally walked in with a
Yeah.
binder like this thick, and
Yeah.
the doctor was, or the person I was talking to was like, "You must have done the surgery just as well as the doctor," which obviously I didn't. But I knew like so
Yeah.
much detail. They were like, "That's crazy." I was like, "I'm
Yeah,
obsessed with
that's
learning this."
very it's a very sad thing. It's like I want to know all of the information and I wish more people were like that because they listen to one podcast and then form an opinion. They watch one TikTok and then form an opinion. There is so much literature out there on GLP-1s and there's still not enough. I have
Hmm.
heard people have horror stories. I've heard people have amazing results. Like I told you guys, I've had not one side effect since day one, not
But you've been
one.
doing a lot of the work. You're
A lot of
ticking
the
the
work.
boxes. You're
Same
ticking the
with my
boxes.
bariatric surgery. Like people are like shocked. They were like, "You were Pelotoning 2 to 3 days after." I'm like, "Yeah." Like
That's truly
Uh,
inspirational and
d-
amazing.
Yeah, like I mean, and that's the thing. That is me. But somebody else's walk might be different. So I just urge everybody to have their own mind and stop, looking at some of your favorite. Because I know for a fact, fun fact, T right now, my coach, my bodybuilding coach, isn't for the Mongiorno. He's still
Mm.
my bodybuilding coach. You think I give a fuck what his opinion is? No. He
Well,
so
he,
I
he mhm.
so okay, let me run that back. I give a fuck about his opinion when it comes to my
He's
macros.
like,
Well, I know, right? Like, wait a second, you don't care about my opinion? No, I do. When it comes to my macros, when it comes to my nutrition, when it comes to my lifting, and when it comes to how my body composition is. I love my coach to death, but he is quite opinionated, and sometimes he does not do all his research when it comes to hot topics, is what I'll
mm,
say.
mm,
Mangiorno is a hot topic. He's
it
old
is hot.
school. He's an old school Moldovan. He's like, why are they taking the shots? Just fucking go to the gym. That's his thing. That's his thing.
Yeah.
He's an old school Moldovan man, and that is his right. But he's also never been 320 pounds. And
Hmm.
that's where we need to understand. I've been 320 motherfucking pounds. You try
Yeah.
having
Sometimes,
all that weight on you.
no, yeah. Sometimes
Right.
we need to practice like listening to understand instead of listening to
Yes.
respond.
Girl,
And so many people are
yes.
so quick to listen to just respond and like judge
Exactly.
and not actually truly hear what
Exactly. I love
someone's
that you
saying.
said that. Yeah, I love that you said that because it's very true. And, we are in the age of clickbait. Like, what can we say to get clicks? And I want you guys to know that we decided to talk about this today, not for clicks, even though I know it'll probably get a lot of clicks. But we decided to talk about it today because I think there's a responsibility as, fitness influencers or whatever the fuck you want to call us, and also fitness coaches,
Hmm.
and I think, Callie not having had a weight problem and not being on Mounjaro or Ozempic and still in the fitness industry, and then me having had a weight problem and on this drug, tackling this topic, I think, is a good
I
thing.
agree. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
think, like we've mentioned in other episodes, like sometimes when you're in the fitness space or in the influencing space, there's a tendency to show like the perfect side of everything and like,
Yeah,
yeah, I just did that and this and hopped across the street and there we are. Like this is great. And I look like this year round. And
right.
it's not, there is a journey behind everyone's story and it's
Hmm.
up and down. And sometimes we feel really great, sometimes we feel really bad. But with this topic in specific, like you said, I think we have a responsibility and it's just wildly important to talk about all the angles of it and look at it from like I said, hopefully people are listening to understand a little bit
Hmm.
instead of just respond when
Right.
listening to this. Um, I think if the world did that in general, we'd be in a much better place.
I freaking agree. I agree. But yeah, that's what we got. If you guys liked this episode, if you have more questions, we are very open. Our emails in the show notes, and we will gladly continue this conversation if you have
Mhm.
more questions or anything like that.
Yeah, or you're someone who has considered it and you're like, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
maybe something we said today like kind of poked the wound a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Like, no, we're not judging anyone. Like, talk to us
No,
and ask questions, and we'll give you the best answer that we can.
exactly. So true, so true. But yeah, what is this? Episode three? Episode three is down
Mhm.
the hatch. I hope you guys are enjoying the content.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
This has been fun. I love doing this.
I know, super fun. Make sure you guys share the episode, share it with your friends, share it with a neighbor, share it on the gram, tag us, and make sure you're following us too. Fit Chicks Unfiltered on Instagram. And we will see you in the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.